Chris Newman, Truth and Consequences. Let's talk about the anatomy of heaven and hell. The previous presentations, about 3 of them, all line up around the point of human choice or decision making. There are different ways to look at it, but all of it comes from inside your heart and flows out from spiritual into physical and to create a world, a reality. And we discussed about Pascal's triangle and explained how things compound. So let's look, I'm just going to take a look into the Bible examples and start showing you how they add up to match or meet that Pascal's triangle idea. So I'm calling this the anatomy of heaven and hell. The tree of the knowledge, good and evil, is on this side. The tree of life is on that side. So the tree symbolizing a human being. The tree of the knowledge, good and evil, symbolizes the death of God's ideal people making choices which separate them from the heavenly kingdom. The tree of life, reality, is the expansion of God's ideal. And in this world, each person, decision, lifestyle, everything contributes to the building of God's heavenly kingdom ideal based on what's called the 3 blessing culture, which I will explain in detail in another lecture, but I've touched on it before. Let's explore how this goes. So God's commandment, do not eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge good and evil, is called the line of the fall, because at the point where Adam and Eve and Lucifer and now the rest of humanity have broken that commandment, we have moved into a realm of negation, negating God's commandment. But the Creator God is a God of affirmation. We're not setting up a dialectical set of opposites here. This is the null set, the world of crap, the world of garbage. Just because God created a world of life and beauty, truth and goodness doesn't mean that he had to create another place of trash. We're the ones who invented that. In fact, I used this symbol before, this null set. I'm going to put it right here. I'll use a black marker for that. That null set symbol, I'm just going to put that there so it reminds you that null set. That's the population of populating the emptiness, putting us, entering a world separate from the creation. So we know that when Eve entered a relationship with Lucifer, her selfishness and her fantasy took her deeper into Lucifer's reality and further away from God's affirmation. In turn, Adam's mistake was his carelessness and his attitude of entitlement. Then we go to the next level. Remember, we're compounding out from the Pascal's triangle. Cain, his feelings of resentment and rage compounded and burst into another dimension of murder. He murdered his brother Abel. Abel was insensitive and a little bit arrogant towards his brother. There was a third brother called Seth, and Seth was, I'm saying, apathetic and neglectful and never cleaned up the mess in his family. When follow it on through to Noah's family, and there was an upset with Ham. Ham was ungrateful to his father Noah and judgmental towards him from a satanic Luciferian perspective. I'm just showing how this multiplied out according to that Pascal's triangle formula. Now, the many-layered burden of accumulated sin has created these realms of dysfunction, chaos, ignorance, survivalism, grief, and at the lower levels we've got cannibalism, slavery, human sacrifice, and then finally extinction. That is the total outcome of negation of God's commandment and his way of life, according to Lucifer, Satan's domination and the false gods of the crap world of the null set. which is pretty much the big investment of human history. We have to pull our resources and our interests out of that world, go back past the line of the fall, completely within God's commandment, do not eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge good and evil, and through the process of affirmation, because the Creator God said, let there be light. First line in the Bible is his creating the world from his affirmation. He didn't then turn around and say, oh, I've got to have a negation over here, everybody, to balance my affirmation. Not true. Get that out. That doesn't fit in there. That's playing dialectics. God is not a God of dialectics. Okay, back to the truth. The affirmation, Adam and Eve, egg and sperm, that's the core meeting of life. Creates the family, families create tribes, tribes create a community, society, nation, world. You can see the expansion of God's tree of life ideal. This is the true Alpha and Omega, the unified reality of the three blessings culture, which is be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. I can explain that in great depth, but right here all you need to know is that all these things exist in physical and spiritual sense, unified through all of creation. So the anatomy of heaven and hell explains how the hell side came about and how the heavenly side is always there. These things aren't in opposition. They're not in opposition at all. This just happens to be the null set populated by people saying no thank you and abusing their power of choice. So pride and envy are Lucifer, Satan's situation at the line of the fall. Over here, on the heavenly side, is service. Now I've missed that gap there, but I'm going to put in two words. True Adam. So Adam's chance to be true is his choice to serve God's ideal, to serve others, and through that process the ideal, the real world of heavenly kingdom comes into existence. And this model here explains entirely that hell isn't opposed to heaven. Hell is a place of good and evil confused, where the death of God's ideal has occurred. Whereas the heavenly side is the expansion of God's ideal. God's ideal already lives and exists. Whether we are aware of it or not, it's eternally true. Whereas this world here is a world of negation, has a limited life, and will ultimately collapse on itself because of its inner contradictions. This world here will expand forever through time and space and culture and every other dimension, because it's centered on the Creator God's creation purpose. Whereas this here, because it's a null set, it has no purpose and it has no creation. It's parasitic off of the truth. So the line of the fall is an incredible understanding now, if you can catch it, because that's the line that humans can't get past unless they restore their relationship with God's commandment. And we're not talking about the 10 commandments of Moses. We're talking about God's first and only commandment, which is do not eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge good and evil. And my earlier presentation explained how the trees are people, that every one of us is a tree, a symbol, and the fruit is the consequences or outcome of mixing good and evil, which is deceit and betrayal and breakdown. And all these aspects here in these individuals' lives are breakdown points which flow out of this one incredible mistake not being corrected and repeating itself over and over and over again through the generations. And so that's why I called it the many-layered burden of accumulated sin. Sin meaning really dumb, self-destructive behaviour. All right, so if there are any questions, you can put your hands up and I'll answer them after class. Thank you for your interest, and I wish you all the very best. Please think about this deeply and understand how it relates to your life and happiness.